Hello, this is the random bit of audio I'm now recording to recap the session 1 of the D&D game, because obviously, as previously stated in one of my other videos, the recording didn't work. This will be going up on Saturday the 10th, which is when we should be recording session 2, unless anything changes tomorrow morning, or later this evening. We'll work that out. Anyway, I will start by going over the characters. So, there was me. I play a Dragonborn named Ddraig, because I was thinking about high school DxD at the time. I was born, oh god, I need to get my character sheet up. 6,363 years ago. Which would be, I have a calendar somewhere, a timeline, that's the one, which was just around the start of what is known as the War of, which is in the era known as the War of the Pantheons. And basically the Celestial Realm in this world decided they wanted to invoke order and unify all of the realms. There was a certain part of the realms that didn't like that, known as the Abyssal Maw. Now, the Abyssal Maw, as you may be able to tell, is a slightly more hellish place, and basically rebelled against this order that was trying to be opposed on Celestial Spire, and a few of the other realms got dragged into this fight as well, one of them being the Infernal Descent, which is where Ddraig was born. So he was born in the year 6015 BES, and we're currently in the year 347. So you'd think BES and ES are just BC AD. Basically, he joined the army during that period of time, and was doing quite well inside of the army, but started noticing he kind of wasn't aging. So he doesn't really know why, but sort of tried to take a step back from the limelight so, you know, other people wouldn't notice. So grew up through that, survived obviously the Abyssal Rebellion and the war, and basically started using what is known as rift dungeons to travel between the hellish realm and the, I guess, the mortal plane, the material realm as it would be known. Now, rift dungeons are essentially, think solo leveling dungeons. That's where the idea came from, where shadow creatures rise up, and basically started using those. Became somewhat well known as a blacksmith through over the years. You know, being just a humble like middle-agey man. He's, you know, typically in his like 30s. That's what he looks like anyway. And he, you know, he just being a humble blacksmith. He does a lot of mercenary work, that kind of stuff. You know, just sort of getting by without really causing too much of a splash. Has had a few impacts over the years involving, should we say, certain quests that bards still sing about. You know, there's sort of his shadow in the background, and, you know, if you read through enough history books, you can see mentions of a red Dragonborn, but nothing really, you know, he's not like at the front of it at all. Now, another thing I should mention about Ddraig is he is an Illrigger, which is sort of the, well, it's the newest class, the newish class by MCDM, and basically, I just wanted to play it because it sounded cool. And the other thing is, Ddraig is a rune carver. He learnt at a young age that his family was once famed rune carvers. That sort of profession kind of fell away over the years, and he wants to sort of reignite it. He has a very unique way of doing his rune carving. He doesn't use the traditional methods. What he does is he uses fire breath to brand the runes onto metal. So, you know, only, which is, you know, sort of leans into why he likes being a blacksmith. He liked, you know, infusing runes into things. And basically, one day, the Dawnfire Company, which is a merchant company, asked Ddraig as a favour to investigate the Forge Heart Citadel and the abandoned dwarven settlement in it. To, you know, see what he can find, and, you know, he'd get to keep some of the profits from the things he found. Reaches there after a few days, takes a look around, and before he can really do much, a portal opens and drags him into a rift dungeon. And that's essentially where the story starts, at the start of session 1. Now, I don't know most of the backstory of the other characters. I only really know mine. The other characters are known as Samium, Analia, and Andriel. Okay? And basically, Samium was in a village in the Howling Tundra. Analia was in the Scorched Flats. And Andriel was investigating a Nexus ruin. All three of them, same situation as Ddraig. Portal opens and sort of just sucks everything around them in. They all four of the characters end up inside of the same rift dungeon, but in different places. Ddraig finds himself in on top of sort of a small hill with a couple of like stepped layers beneath him, with some shadow creatures. He tries to see if he can work a way to sneak through them all, and because he sees a path heading off. Can't really find a way to sneak through them all without attacking at least some of them. So, turns in to fight one of them. Tougher fight, and realises these shadow creatures are tougher than the usual ones he ends up against in Rift Dungeons. And then, midway through the fight, somebody just falls from the sky and sort of lands in a tree, and then just sort of sits and watches while Ddraig finishes his fight. Now, skipping backwards ever so slightly, and now Samium finds herself in a similarly foresty area, shadowy foresty area, like Ddraig did. But for her, there's just a big hole in the ground, and there's no shadow creatures in this little area she's in, but there is some sheep. So does sort of throw a sheep down the hole. The sheep obviously doesn't land where Ddraig is. So, mystery where the sheep's gone. But, Samium does jump down. And, sort of ends up Ddraig. They have a conversation, they talk a bit. And while they're having a talk, the other shadow creatures seem to wander off. Oh, yeah, and Samium gets a pet hellhound, shadow hound called Kevin. Well, at least tames one and calls it Kevin. Because that's where sort of what she happened to land next to, because animal handling is a thing. And basically, we then, wander off down the path into what we find is a clearing with a load of, like, stone columns around it. Now, in the middle of these stone columns is about 5 or 6 shadow creatures. I believe it was like 2 or 3 hounds, I think, and then like 3 humanoid creatures. And ends up in a bit of a fight. And it turns out that there are 2 other creatures in this fight that being Andriel and Analia. Basically, and so end up in a bit of a fight. Ddraig does take a bit of a punishing. Most of them seem to be going for him. Partly because, if I remember correctly, Andriel was in a tree, hiding, and just kind of, I think, just shooting a bow and arrow, if I remember rightly. Analia can fly, so she was just kind of out of range. And Samium wasn't drawing as much attention. So Ddraig was ending up in the bulk of the fight. We, made it through the fight, and then a portal opens. Another one. See, the one Ddraig sort of fell into was a red one. So a white portal means we get to leave. So basically, we have a bit of a conversation. Oh yeah, and the sheep that fell down the hole, that's kind of just in the clearing, sort of smushed. Dead on the floor. Ddraig does make use of this by making sure, you know, char grilling it with his fire breath and, you know, ripping off a leg of mutton. And basically they head through the portal and appear in a town. And that's essentially where session 1 ended. So it was mostly just a little bit of combat. I know I haven't said much about what happened to Analia and Andriel. Basically, they ended up, if I remember rightly, in the same place Samium did, you know, with the big hole in the ground, but they didn't jump down the hole. Basically, we all ended up in the same place anyway, ended up with a fight. Yeah, besides that, not really much happened. There was a little, you know, bit of introductory stuff, but I can't remember all of it, and I don't really want to sit here trying to remember and recite dialogue, because it feels like I'd be putting words in other people's mouths. But besides that, yeah, that was kind of all that we really did. And yeah, there's probably some other world building bits I could say. Like, there is a lot of background world building that Lawrence has done for this. Like, there's a whole timeline that goes over, what is it, 1, 2, 3, like 5 eras. Starting back in like the era of the primordials, you know, the beginning of the universe, and slowly moves forward to the modern day with where we are now. There's obviously some more background information I could give you on Ddraig, obviously, because I wrote it, so we kind of know it all. Tell you what I will do. I will put Draig's backstory in the description of this video. And then, you know, you can read through that if you want. But yeah, we had a lot of fun in that first session. A couple of hiccups, you know, obviously with like the recording software not working. But yeah, hopefully that was enough of a brief like overview what happened in session 1. Like I said, not really much happened besides a sort of we got in a little bit of fight. The characters met. Tiny bit of backstory that got shared between obviously the characters, but yeah, I'll catch you all in Sunday's video, which will probably be where, I don't know, obviously going through Submachine, we're getting quite close to the end now. Episode 9 and 10 would be the final 2 levels, and then it's going back and trying to clean up all the achievements. Might have to do a little bit of research for that. I don't know. It depends what's revealed in episode 9 and 10. It might even, chapter 9 and 10. There might even be more chapters after that. I don't know. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed my little overview of session 1/0, I guess, sort of. And yeah, I will see you all soon.